Komal, how does God speak to us?
How does a God speaks to us? Okay. That's a pretty good question. So same question, let me put it this way. Your question was, how does a God speaks to us?
Yeah. Maybe first question is, does God speak to us?
Okay. Okay.
And if so, how? How
It-
can we hear God?
Right, how can we hear God? Now, what we say in the language of non-duality in Advaita, we call it still voice,
Still voice.
still voice,
Uh-huh.
or a whispering.
Whispering.
How does God whisper us? Right?
Yes.
In order to listen to that whispering still voice within our own self, first we have to become still. It's like yesterday I was telling you, in order for you to observe the subtle movement of that invisible infinite intelligence that we call God, we have to do exactly the opposite of that. Means what? In order to see that subtle movement of that invisible infinite intelligence, we have to become still. Right?
Yes.
So it is the very stillness that observes the movement. If you are caught in the movement itself, then you will not be able to hear that still voice. So Christ said, something like, still the mind, know that I am.
Be still and know that I am?
Yeah, be still, know that I am. That's what he means.
Uh-huh.
So, because I am is also a movement. And simultaneously, that very I am also stillness.
Uh-huh.
And so in order to find what movement is, we have to become still. So how do we become still? Right?
Yes.
How do we become still?
By stop walking.
By stop walking. Yes. That's a good answer.
By sitting
By sitting
in silence,
in
perhaps?
silence.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Paying attention.
Paying attention. So how I look at it, how to become still. If I give you an analogy, it's like what we call, say, watch, for example.
Uh-huh.
You know the time clock?
Yes.
And if you look at that time clock, everything is in the movement inside that time clock. There's a great sense of dynamics. It is a continuously in its movement. It's 24/7.
Right. The second hand's always moving.
Yeah,
all the
everything is moving.
Yeah.
The needles are moving. All the gear wheels are moving. Everything else is moving. But that whole clock is suspended upon one axle, which is in the center.
Uh-huh.
And that axle is absolutely still, which never moves. But that whole movement is suspended on that axle. If you pull out that axle, the whole clock will fall off. So it is the very stillness that speaks to our own self when we become still. So it is not the God that is going to speak to us, because that God is all around us. That stillness is all around us. So when we become still, that very stillness creates that movement of life. And that life is what divine is. So all this is, look at all this.
Yeah.
How beautiful. Everything is pulsating with that life. And it is, all this is speaking to us, but we are not listening. So in order to listen, we have to become silent. So the very language of this very existence in this pine forest is silence. It is the very silence that which is speaking.
And only when we're silent can we hear that,
Okay, we can
appreciate
hear
it
that,
too, right?
appreciate that.
Yeah.
We can hear that just by being still. So does it answer your question?
Yes, and then it feels like you said earlier, a symphony is speaking to you.
Right.
Yeah, God's all around, and everything is saying something to you.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So it's better to be a listener.
I'll listen. Yeah.
Better to be a listener.
Thank you.
See, this is my little